Tuesday, March 1, 1887. The New York Times. Missing Maggie Kueblein. A long search for the child in vain. Various theories to account for her disappearance. Fears of foul play entertained. Bushwick is an ugly place for a night mystery. It lies on the northern confines of Brooklyn, whence the low lands of Newtown Creek stretch away, bleak and frozen, to the East River. It is a region of few houses and sparse population, of grim, windowless factory walls, high trestles, and black derricks. The waters of the creek wind around coal wharves and lumber wharves. Bone kilns and brick kilns now and then light the night with an uncanny glare, while in the gullies and holes of the marshlands, the dark and gaping stretches between the wharves, the apertures in the brick piles, the avenues of the timber heaps, and the mud of the canal, are 1,000 places where the body of a man might be indefinitely hidden, much less the simple form of a 12-year-old child. The mystery concerning the disappearance of little Maggie Kueblein only deepened through the whole of yesterday. 6 officers from the 6th Precinct Station, in citizens' clothes and under the constant directions of Captain Kaiser, were ransacking every nook and corner of the section, while another searcher, a poor old mother with a black shawl around her head and tears streaming from her eyes, wandered wearily hither and thither across the frozen country, moaning only, "See why so gut, see why so gut." It was so evident that a little girl who was moneyless and thinly clad had not disappeared of her own accord on a black and stormy night, that the police search began with that sharpened vigor which expected and horrible crime always lends. The first investigation began at Graham's Pottery, where the bread was found. William Fuchs and John Lyson, the 2 men mentioned yesterday as unknown, were found quietly at work in the burning room of the pottery, and were closely questioned. Fuchs is a tall, slender Bohemian who speaks no English and who is charged with firing the huge kiln, which will not be opened until next Saturday. Lyson is the driver for the establishment. Both their stories were straightforward and shed no light on the mystery. Fuchs had been at work attending to the fires and all of Saturday afternoon, and was in the place at the time the little girl must have passed it to go to the bakery above. Lyson had arrived there in search of his overcoat at 8 o'clock, a few minutes after she left the bakery. Neither of them had seen anybody in the street, nor heard any outcry. The loaf and book might have been on the step without Lyson seeing them, he said, as it was raining hard, and he entered hurriedly. At 8 o'clock he heard cries as of a woman's voice, but they passed away, and he paid no attention to them. The listening officers looked somewhat hungrily at the huge brick cylinder which filled the room, and there was some discussion as to whether bones burned away or would stand the fire. There was talk of drawing the fires and opening the white-hot kiln, but the stories of the 2 young men were clear. Every possibility, including their good reputations, was against any sinister supposition, and the proposition was not deemed to be warranted by the facts. The police then searched the building, the long molding room, the clay vats, and then the yard, but to no purpose. Then the fields across the road were carefully searched, but no trace of the missing one appeared. In the meantime, some slight suspicion, for lack of any other explanation, had attached to a man named James Brown, who works in Covert's lumber yard on Newtown Creek. Mary Rabesham, a girl who had gathered chips and coal about the wharves with Maggie, said that Brown had given Maggie pennies at times, and had once asked her to go to the theater, but she had refused. Brown heard that the police were inquiring for him and went to them with so straight a story that no suspicion could be attached to him. A report came in during the morning that Maggie's body had been found in Betts Woods on the line of the Manhattan Beach Railway near Newtown Creek, but this was quickly disproved. Newtown Creek was closely examined by the police to set at rest a belief among the people that she had been thrown in there. It has not yet been dragged, however. It is a sluggish, silent stream, and slips away under the bridges and by the piles in a way that perhaps has given rise to the vague beliefs of the neighbors that boats sometimes go away in the night, and that all the disappearance mysteries could be solved by them. At 6 o'clock last evening, Captain Kaiser confessed that he was entirely without a clue. There was some talk early in the evening that a band of gypsies who occupied an old farmhouse 2 miles away, across the creek in Queens County, were the guilty persons in the matter. A Times reporter consequently went out to the gypsy camp soon after dark. The house they occupy stands in a large field, which in the summertime is considered a park. It is environed by high board fences, partially tumbled down, and is 1/4 of a mile from the roadway and quite a distance from the cross avenue, on which is the gate the gypsies use. Rab, their leader, disclaimed all knowledge of the matter. They had not heard, they said, even of the child's disappearance. While the detectives are disinclined to believe that the child has been murdered, they cling to the idea that she has been abducted and is now concealed somewhere.